So I'm just going to start in English. I'm sorry, but most of the time I'm just like speaking English at work, so it's easier for me to just present everything in English. Hi everyone, my name is Jen, and thank you so much for having me today. I'm here to talk about leadership, but not in the traditional manager sense. I want to talk about a very different leadership philosophy here, the servant leadership. It's a style of leadership that has shaped my entire career, and I really genuinely believe it's the future of our industry, especially in game development. So the goal of this talk is simple, is to show you that leadership is not power, it's not about control, it is not about being the smartest cookie in the room. Leadership is about serving the people who will build the game with you. And when you lead from this mindset, everything changes. So a quick introduction about myself first, so you know who I am and where I'm coming from. I've worked in the games industry for the last 16 years now. I started as a game master at Blizzard Entertainment when I was 26. So the lowest position that you can find in the games industry, I guess, customer support representative. And I worked my way through the leadership ladder, becoming a producer on World of Warcraft and then Overwatch, and supporting a supporting producer on Overwatch, then becoming a senior producer or a lead product manager as well, until today becoming an executive producer, leading a team of more than 150 people across art, design, tech, QA, publishing, marketing, what have you. You name it, I've done it. I've seen incredible successes and I've seen disasters. I've made my own mistakes as well, obviously, and I've learned from them, which is the most important, obviously. And the biggest thing I've learned is this: people don't follow titles, they follow trust. Games are built by humans. You know that, right? It's not processes, it's not anybody else, it's humans, most first and foremost. And you can have the best tools, you can have the cleanest dashboards, you can have the most detailed Jira tasks, you can have the best reports, you can have whatever you want. But if the people don't feel safe on your team, if they don't feel trusted or motivated, nothing is going to work. Teams don't want a boss that is just checking their tasks and just being behind their shoulder, watching everything they're doing. They don't want to feel micromanaged. They want someone who gives them a purpose, clarity, and confidence. And let me tell you something very, very important that is very dear to me. Leadership is not the same thing as management. Don't mistake a leader from a manager. It is absolutely not the same thing. You can be a manager without being a leader, and you can absolutely be a leader without having any management title at all. And that's very important because you can find leaders pretty much anywhere on your team. And you can be a game master and still be a leader. Yes, you can be a QA person and you can be a leader. So when I talk about managers, I mean people who want control, people who monitor and gatekeep the information. It's people who think that leadership is about knowing everything and approving everything. Everything is concentrated around yourself as the person. Leaders are something else entirely. A leader inspires, a leader empowers, a leader protects their team, and a leader gives direction, not orders. And this is the most important thing, they're giving the direction. One of the things I say all the time to my team, and really I mean it, is to build a game, you need hundreds of brains because we are a creative industry and the best idea is not coming just like this. You need a lot of iteration, obviously. And the best idea may be coming from somebody else on your team that is not the leader, it is not the manager either. The best idea may be coming from an environment artist or programmer that just joined the team 3 months ago. Your job as a leader is not to have all the answers. God knows that I don't have all the answers to all the questions from my team. But my job is to create the conditions for those 100 brains to do their best job and their best thinking and having the best environment for them to do this. So what does it mean to be a servant leader? And what is servant leadership? It's to me, it's a leadership style where your primary role is to serve the team, not the other way around. It means empowering the team rather than controlling them. It's building the trust instead of building fear. It is listening before making any decision. It's sharing the accountability. It is not just you, it's everybody else as well. You are sharing together the accountability for the project. It's creating the conditions for others to shine, not yourself. It's about your team. It's not about you. And I want to be very clear about something because people think that servant leadership is soft, but it is not. It is actually not passive. It is not let the team decide anything they want. It is not this. Empowerment does not mean chaos. You empower the people to find solutions within the direction you define. You empower creativity, not misalignment. When the team is stuck, for example, when there is confusion or paralysis or disagreement, this is when your leadership becomes decisive. You cut through the noise, you make the call, you unblock the path forward. So servant leadership is actually a very, very strong form of leadership. It gives you and your team autonomy, but also clarity. It gives them trust, but also a sense of direction. You empower, but you also own as the leader the final responsibility. So servant leadership works incredibly well in game development. And there's two reasons for this. And one of the reasons, obviously, I'm not going to put this here on the screen, but it is because we are a creative industry to start with. Game development, as you know, is multidisciplinary. We have a lot of different disciplines in development teams. As the producer or a leader, you are not the expert in every discipline, especially not as a producer. I'm not a programmer. I'm not an artist. I am not a game designer or a system designer or level designer or what have you. I understand the fields, yeah, for sure. I don't hold the mastery in them, but I do understand how each of those fields work and how they interact with one another. But that's exactly why trust is essential. Your teams are the experts. They need the freedom to propose the solutions. Your role is to define the vision, but not to dictate how to reach it. The solution is coming from your team, it's not coming from you. And the reason number two is because of the creativity and the creative work that we are working in, it requires safety, psychological safety. If people are afraid to speak up, question decisions, challenge your ideas as the leader, you will never find the best solution. Innovation requires a lot of safety nets, a lot of psychological safety. Ownership drives performance, and trust accelerates the delivery. Because when the leadership is trusted by the team and the leader trusts the team, everything is moving faster because the iteration is going to be a lot faster. And instead of people being sitting in a meeting and just listening to you and listening to your directions and just nodding to you, they are going to start iterating with you on the fly on your ideas and challenging your ideas if they're not the best. This combination of clarity and trust is why servant leadership works so well in our industry. So there are three pillars in my mind for great teams here. And I want to dive deeper in each one of them because they're often misunderstood. So for me, there's like safety, clarity, and empowerment. So let's start with safety first. So when I mean safety, I'm not just talking about being nice. I mean, of course, yeah, you have to be nice to your colleagues. You don't want a toxic environment, obviously, right? But it's not about just being nice with your colleagues. Safety means creating an environment where the people can challenge you, the leader. One of the most dangerous thing a team is, one of the most dangerous things, sorry, a team is doing is when people become yes men. So let's say I'm in a meeting and we're like brainstorming an idea and the idea is coming from me. And if everybody is nodding, just like I was saying earlier to my idea, then how do I know this is the best idea? Most likely not. I am not the expert. I don't have all the solutions. I might have an idea to contribute to the discussion, but it's not because I'm contributing that people should be saying, oh, Jen said that, so we have to go this way. Shouldn't be this way. If they agree with everything you say, it's because they're probably afraid to contradict the boss. And we don't want that. We don't need that. I'll say it again. I am not the expert in programming or art or design. If people only agree with me because of my title, the project is going to fail, and that's for sure. If I propose an idea and the team doesn't challenge it, how will we ever find the best solution? So safety means people can say, yes, Jen, I disagree with you, and here's why, and here's my solution, and here's my proposal instead. And I thank them for it, because they are the ones that are going to bring the best idea. And that's how excellence is happening in teams. It is not about you controlling your team. It is about you giving the safety net and the safety for them to express themselves in every manner. The second one is clarity. It's not just direction, but it's context. Clarity is not just tasks and deadlines. Clarity means explaining. It's a lot of education. It means explaining what you're doing, why you're doing things, and what success looks like. How this ties everything that you're doing, how everything ties into the broader picture of the business context. Because very often, decisions in game development are driven by factors like revenue, retention, cost, business goals, platform requirements, and what have you. But the team might not have the broader picture of everything that's happening. They might be just working on the vertical of the game without understanding what is happening on the side. This is your role to explain and educate your team on the decisions that you are making for the better of the product, for the better of the player's experience. If we remove or add a feature, for example, if I delay something, if I deprioritize or reprioritize a different piece of work, the team deserves to know why. They need to understand why we're making decisions. Give your team the bigger picture. Instead of having them locked in, the nose in their task, unable to raise their eyes to understand the broader circumstances, you need to enable your team to understand why you're making these decisions, because otherwise you're going to create resentment, misunderstanding, misalignment. They're going to break the trust with you as well if you don't explain, if you don't educate. If you clearly explain and establish the constraints at hand, if you are telling them these are the constraints, your team may be able to find the best suited solution to the given problem at hand. Clarity is not about micromanagement. It is about education, first and foremost. The third pillar for me is empowerment, and we talked about it already a bit. It's structured freedom, decisive leadership. Empowerment, just like I was saying, is not letting the team run in different directions. It is structured freedom. You define the goals, you define the problem, you give constraints, and the team proposes solutions. And yes, sometimes, just like I was saying, I have ideas, but just because I thought of something doesn't mean it's the right solution. The team must feel safe to challenge me. They must feel empowered to be the owners of their discipline, to be able to provide their best idea how to solve a problem from their discipline perspective. But if they get stuck, and this is the most important, if there is a misalignment between different team members, if decision paralysis kicks in, this is where, as the leader, you step in, you make the call, you unblock the path forwards, because no matter what, you need to progress as a team. You cannot stay stuck. So this is your responsibility as a leader to unblock your team and to make a decision. Maybe the decision is not the best decision, but you need to make a decision no matter what. With the information that you have at hand, you need to make the decision to move forward. This is what I call leadership. It's empowerment with structure. It's autonomy with boundaries. Because if you're giving the boundaries and the structure, the team is going to understand where they can navigate in and how to find the best solution given the constraints they have at hand. The balance is simple. I empower the team fully until they are stuck. And when they're stuck, I intervene decisively. Empowerment is not hands off. It is hands off until necessary. So I'm using the gardener here as a metaphor to explain the real leadership, because a great leader for me uh, it becomes basically unnecessary at some point. You're just erasing yourself from the picture, because if everything runs well, then your team doesn't need you. A gardener doesn't pull a plant to make it grow faster. Otherwise it dies, right? If you're removing the plant too soon, it's going to die. It's not going to grow faster. A gardener creates the conditions for growth. It's giving sunlight, water, soil, protection. And your job as a leader is exactly this. It is to remove the blockers, like removing the weeds from your garden. You're removing the blockers. You protect the team from external chaos, like the storms in a garden. You give them space so they can grow properly. You give them clarity, sunlight in that case as a gardener, and you celebrate their achievements, not yours, their achievements. And here's something super, super important here as well, is a great leader is someone the team eventually doesn't need anymore, just like I was saying. When the system runs smoothly, when communication flows, when the team is empowered and aligned, your job becomes invisible. You're not the hero, you're the infrastructure that is enabling your team to work properly. And when something great is built, a feature, a solution, a whole vertical slice, what have you, you celebrate the team, not yourself, because they built it. Your role was simply to enable it. So I want to tell you a story about one of my biggest mistakes I made very early on in my career when I worked at Blizzard. At the time, I was the only person in my region who had direct access to the development team in the US of Team 2, which was the World of Warcraft development team. And I was quite young. I was pretty ambitious. And honestly, it really made me feel powerful and important as a person. I had direct access to the development team. Nobody else had. I was the one discussing with the designers, with the leadership of this team. I was the one bridging basically the leadership team of the development team in the US and the teams in Europe. And without realizing it, I was the one who became the bottleneck on the team. I was the one who had the information. I was the one everyone had to go through to ask questions or to ask anything from the development team, for example. I was the gatekeeper. And it felt powerful and it felt good as a person. But here's the truth again, gatekeeping isn't power. It's insecurity dressed as authority. I was young, inexperienced still, and I thought because I was the one with the information, I was the one important. And it's not the case because what I was doing actually, I was slowing down the team. I was making people dependent on me. I was breaking the trust and I created silos. And to be fair, creating silos is damaging collaboration because instead of people working horizontally, they are working vertically within their own disciplines and they stop talking to one another because they are expecting the leader to do that for them. And I cannot do that for everyone, all the team, all the time. I'm just one person. I'm going to block them. If I don't provide the information that I receive on time to all the stakeholders, then the communication is going to break down. And what if I become sick? And what if, something happens? Then what? So when I realized this, it was a painful but necessary lesson for me. A leader shares information. A leader distributes the power. It is not just for you to keep because you're not powerful. You're just actually blocking things. And the leader removes themselves as the bottleneck. I should not be the one keeping all of this information when this is going to help the team to actually do their job. So today, I share the context as widely and transparently as possible to my teams, because when you stop being a gatekeeper, you stop being a roadblock, and you're enabling the team to move forward again. Transparency is one of the most powerful forces in leadership. Transparency doesn't mean oversharing or dumping every worry onto your team. Obviously, again, just like I was saying, as the gardener, you're the one protecting your team as well. So you don't want to scare your team away with too much information. You don't want to just dump everything onto the team. You need to be precise on the kind of information you're giving them for them to be able to do their job in the best contexts that they know. It means explaining the why again behind the decisions. It's education. It means giving the people the context they need to do their best job. It means showing what you know and what you don't know. Because again, as a leader, you don't have the answers to all the questions. You should be saying to your teams, I don't know this. Let me chase this information for you. If you don't know it, acknowledge it. That's okay. You don't know everything. And transparency and this kind of transparency to your team is the foundation of trust. People are going to start trusting you because you're honest with them and you're transparent. I know this, I don't know this. That's okay, don't worry. I will check that for you. Because people don't trust leaders who hide things. They trust leaders who are honest, even when the truth is inconvenient. Yeah, sometimes it is inconvenience, but you have to share that as well with the team. I'll share a bit of a story. I shared a story on transparency earlier, and owning your mistake was the best thing that I did so far. So I want to pause on something also extremely simple, but incredibly powerful as well. The magic question, what do you think? This is one of the most important questions as a leader can use, to be fair. Why? It's because it's showing trust. It is unlocking the creativity of your team. It is breaking the hierarchy as well. It is building ownership for them, and it makes people feel respected for their understanding, for their experience in their field, and it's creating an open culture as well. Culture is everything. You can have the best people on your team being the best individual contributors. If the culture is bad and toxic, those best people can become the worst because they will not feel respected and they will not feel any kind of ownership. So when you as a leader, you move away from giving answers and instead start asking questions, your team steps into their power, asking them, oh, sorry, my headset was turned off for some reason. So it is really asking them questions that are going to enable them to own and to feel ownership on what they're building. And the secret is very simple. When people feel trusted, they rise, they start taking initiative, they start proposing better ideas, they challenge direction in productive ways. What do you think is a sentence that is building leaders? And I have to say on this one, I ask this question all the time to my team, all the time. I'm not afraid. I am not a know-it-all. I don't have all the answers. What do you think? So when trust disappears and the trust breaks, the whole system becomes heavy. And to be fair, when you enter in a room and the culture is toxic, you can feel it in the air. You can feel there's something that is wrong in this team because people stop speaking up. They avoid conflict. They only do what is asked from them and they stop being proactive. They stop sharing concerns early on in the project. And because of that, innovation dies, productivity slows, creativity collapses entirely. A team without trust becomes a team of silent performers, not builders. And as I said, as a silent performer, you might be becoming underperforming as well because you don't care anymore. You lose the passion that you have for the project and the passion just slips away. And rebuilding trust isn't done with speeches, it is done with consistent action. And this is the most difficult thing to do as a leader. If you break the trust, rebuilding it is going to take some time and consistency from yourself to be able to re-enable this on your team. It is about radical honesty. Share everything with your team. I mean, to a degree, obviously, don't scare them away, but be honest with them. If you don't know something, just tell them. It is clear, predictable communication. Make sure that you're communicating with your team on a timely basis. Maybe you want to have a weekly meeting with them. Maybe it's a monthly meeting. Myself, I have a monthly meeting with the entire development team where we're going through everything that's happening on the team. It is about owning your mistakes, being transparent about the risks and the changes on the team, showing up reliably for your team day in, day out, whether it rains, whether it's snowing outside, whatever, you have to show up for your team. And it's about creating culture where the leadership is part of the team, not above it. You are embedded in your team. You're not just the one person at the top checking your team from your ivory tower. Trust isn't earned through perfection. It is earned through consistency. Day in, day out, you're there for your team. And this brings me to a story that marked me really, really deeply. And it's one of those leadership moments that you never forget as an individual. When I worked at Blizzard, I made a mistake one day that was pretty bad. It was not catastrophic, but it was pretty bad. We were releasing the WoW token, which was basically changing entirely the monetization for the game and making part of the game free to play for players on a subscription game. That was a huge change. And I was shipping a new feature, and I turned off the shop worldwide during the release of this feature in the US. As you can imagine, that was not a good thing to do, and I was not aware of this, and I felt truly awful. And then I went straight to Jan Brack, who was back in the days the executive producer for World of Warcraft, and I was expecting to be harshly scolded by him. And instead, he looked at me and he said, Jen, who cares? You made a mistake? Just own to it. Are you going to repeat the mistake? No? Good. And then he said something else that I've carried with me my entire career ever since. You're going to make hundreds of mistakes in your career, and that's okay. What matters the most is how you take responsibility for them and owning to your mistake. And that changes everything to me. It taught me that owning your mistakes is not a weakness. It's actually a strength. Accountability builds trust because people can see that you're saying, yes, I made a mistake. And it's now they're going to trust you even more. It's about humility. Again, you're a leader. Humility is a strength as well because you don't know everything. And it's not about perfection. Perfection is not leadership. Honesty is. People don't trust the leaders who pretend they're perfect. They trust leaders who acknowledge their humanity. And so let's talk about emotional intelligence here, because leadership is deeply emotional work. You're not just managing tasks, you're managing human beings with fears and hopes and frustrations and talents and securities and dreams and whatnot. Emotional intelligence is essential in this job. And I have to say that a leader is not for everyone. Not everyone can be a leader, and that's okay as well, because we need as well some individual contributors on the teams. So emotional intelligence includes self-awareness. It's about knowing your triggers, knowing yourself, knowing your tendencies and your blind spots. Who are you as a person and what triggers you as a person? And once you understand that, it's about self-regulation, staying calm even when your emotions want to take over. It's about empathy, truly understanding what your team is going through. It's really understanding them as people, individuals, and as a team collectively. It's about, because if you understand them, you're going to unlock their motivation. You need to stay driven as well as a leader. Stay motivated because you are the one that is going to always pull the team forward. You need to stay driven, even through hard times as well. Because you're going to also need social skills, because communicating clearly, navigating the conflicts, and building the harmony requires a lot of social skills and a lot of soft skills from you. And I want to be honest with you as well here. I'm not calm all the time, and I'm human, and I make mistakes, and I lose patience sometimes. But when I do, I apologize all the time, and I do a lot when I lose my temper. I go personally to the people that I might have bruised to make them sure they understand it was not personal, and I'm truly sorry for not having been able to keep my cool. But here's the goal. As a leader, you need to be the person people can rely on when chaos hits. You don't crumble, you don't panic, and you don't lash out on your team. You stay centered, clear, and steady. Because when everything is burning, your team looks up to you for calm and steadiness. This is one of the biggest challenges in game development: vision versus execution. Balancing the long-term vision with the short-term realities of the team. You need to dream big and deliver at the same time. You need to protect the core vision and hit deadlines. You need to push innovation and manage constraints as well. Your job is to connect the stars to the ground. And in practice, it means breaking the vision into achievable milestones. Because people need to understand, okay, we can do this, instead of like this big mountain that they need to look at. Translating big ideas into clear deliverables, giving space for creativity within boundaries that you're giving them. Keeping the scope realistic. The more unrealistic it is, the more your team is going to doubt you and to start questioning themselves as well. Are they going to be able to achieve those goals? And It's about adapting the plans when needed, but not losing the bigger picture of the project. Because sometimes you need to just realign and maybe you don't have time anymore and you just might need to cut something out of the scope. And this is where your decisiveness truly matters. The teams can get lost in brainstorming. You know that. You've been doing a lot of brainstorming with your team. But the team can drift away from what matters the most about the product, about the game that you're building. And they can become paralyzed by too many options. A strong leader brings them back together. It refocuses the direction and reminds them this is what we're building, and this is why we're building it. This is how we'll get there together as a team. And we have a lot of crisis in leadership, obviously, and especially in video games. Crisis moments really define what leaders it defines the leaders more than anything else, any other time during production. Because in game development, crisis is inevitable. It is always going to happen. You have delays, massive bugs, system failures, burnout, publisher pressure, community pressure. It's part of your reality day in, day out as a game developer. And the leader must be calm and clear and grounded and decisive. Your role really in those moments is to protect your team from chaos, not add to it. You absorb the pressure so they can stay focused. You communicate clearly and frequently. You prioritize ruthlessly. You make sure that the team is not overburdened with too much work. You define what matters right now to them so that they need to work on right now. And you make this decision fast. And you fix the process, not the people. When something is broken, it's not about the people, it's always about the process that is not working well. And after all of that, after the crisis is done, obviously you reflect and you learn and you make sure that this crisis becomes a turning point for your team, not something that is going to repeat itself. And one more thing, during a crisis, you don't look for someone to blame. You don't point the finger at somebody. You look for solutions. And then you take responsibility. That is leadership. Ah, yeah, sorry, I forgot to to move the slide. So there are a few things I want every future leader here to remember. Leadership is earned. It is not assigned to you. Again, as I was saying, you can be anybody on the team without being a manager, and you can still be a leader. It is not assigned. It is who you are and how you're going to act with your team. You can lead from any position, not just managerial ones. Authenticity is more powerful than authority. You will lead a lot more effectively through influence rather than authority. And I can tell you that even the executive producer on World of Warcraft, one day I came to him and I was like, oh, I don't have any authority. I don't understand. And he just smiled at me and he told me, like, do you think I have authority? No, I work through influence. Even as the EP on the team, I need to convince people for them to be doing their best job. Otherwise, they're not going to listen to me. Empowering your team, empowered teams, outperform controlled teams because they will have the freedom to find the best solutions instead of controlled teams that will just listen to what you're saying to them and they will just do what you're asking for without even having a critical mindset and just thinking that it might not be the right solution. Servant leadership is not soft, it is strategic, it is strong and deeply effective. And above all, leadership is not about elevating yourself, it is about elevating others on your team. When your team succeeds, you celebrate them. When your team fails, you take the responsibility. That builds loyalty, trust, and excellence. And yes, it is very, very harsh as a leader. You're going to take a lot of the blame, but that's your role. And that's what is going to shape your team and the culture of your team and making the best, excellent team that you can find out there. So I just want to close with a simple idea. Lead the way you wish you were led. Give people clarity, give them trust, give them safety, push them to grow, celebrate them, own your mistakes, and your team is going to be the best there is out there. Remember, your team's successes belongs to them. The responsibility relies on you. And never forget something. I keep saying to my team, every meeting that we have, every monthly meeting that we have, I keep saying to them, together, we are stronger. Because as a leader, I am part of the team. And the team is part of the leadership. Together, we are stronger. And that's it for me today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I was very happy to have this leadership talk with you guys today.
Merci beaucoup. C'était trop cool. Tu nous entends?
Ouais, je vous
Ouais,
entends.
c'est bon? Ouais, ok.
Ouais.
Ouais, merci. C'était hyper intéressant. Je me suis retrouvé dans plein de trucs que tu as dit. C'était trop... Ouais, c'était ultra intéressant. Notamment les erreurs, le fait d'assumer ses erreurs devant tout le monde, tout ça. Et le fait de laisser un peu
Je
de
crois que
liberté aux gens, quoi.
ouais, je crois que c'est vraiment le truc le plus important à faire, vraiment, c'est quand quelqu'un dans ta team voit en fait que l'exécutif producteur a fait ah merde, putain, je suis désolée, j'ai fait ça, c'est mon erreur, c'est moi, ça vient de moi
Ouais.
en fait.
Mm.
Et ça change tellement la dynamique de la team. Les gens vraiment comprennent, ok, déjà de un, j'ai le droit à faire des erreurs moi aussi.
Ouais.
Et de deux, en fait, ils comprennent, ok, je peux m'exprimer. Ça se trouve, en fait, ce que je vais dire, c'est peut-être une bêtise, mais au moins, en fait, j'ai la place de m'exprimer et peut-être que ce que je vais dire, ça va être intéressant.
Ouais, ouais, je suis d'accord. Et il y a des fois, il faut vraiment mettre son ego de côté
Un
à fond,
leader n'a
quoi.
pas d'ego.
Ah ouais, ouais, l'ego, faut vraiment laisser tomber, quoi. Et tant
Ouais.
pis. Ouais,
Et
je suis
l'ego,
d'accord avec toi.
et l'ego va venir, même ça va être complètement l'inverse, l'ego va venir en général de ta team, des leaders de ta team, donc ton art directeur, ton game directeur, etc., etc. Eux, c'est des gens en général qui ont plutôt des gros égos, ce qui n'est pas une mauvaise chose, hein, parce que dans la créativité, tu as quand même vraiment besoin d'avoir des grosses idées.
Ouais.
Mais du coup, ton travail en tant que leader, ça va être de gérer ces égos-là, en fait, de faire en sorte que ces égos, en fait, puissent travailler les uns ensemble avec les autres
Mm.
et de gérer leurs émotions parce que du coup, en fait, toi, tu es la personne qui gère le plus tes émotions et qui gère le plus ta personnalité. Tu t'adaptes à ta team. C'est pas l'inverse. La team ne s'adapte pas à toi en tant que leader. Tu t'adaptes à ta team entièrement. Et du coup, en fait, tu fais en sorte d'effacer plus ou moins en fait les égos des uns et des autres pour qu'ils puissent vraiment travailler ensemble.
Mm. Moi, j'avais plusieurs questions. Et puis sur le chat, il y a aussi des questions de Noémie. Mais pour les gens qui sont présents, n'hésitez pas à écrire vos questions sur le chat Discord, du coup, pas sur celui de Zoom. Moi, j'avais une question pour toi, Jennifer. Tu as parlé du fait que the team deserves to know and understand your decision, etc., etc. Comment tu fais ça concrètement? C'est au jour le jour, quand tu prends toutes les décisions, tu donnes cette transparence à la team. Est-ce que tu as, je sais pas, peut-être une réu spéciale un peu genre franc-parler ou tu vois comment tu fais pour faire en sorte que la team sache assez régulièrement pourquoi tu prends telle décision, pourquoi on fait comme ça et qu'ils aient une bonne vision de ce qui se passe.
Ouais. Alors, en général, donc ça dépend si c'est une décision de crise ou de non-crise. Si c'est une décision qui est prise, mettons, sur une feature et qu'on est dans un kick-off meeting sur la feature, si je vois que on fait un brainstorming, par exemple, et que la team, en fait, est complètement bloquée, ils peuvent pas euh, bouger, soit j'ai des réponses en tête déjà parce que j'ai le contexte avec les idées de la team, en fait, me reviennent. Et moi, dans ma tête, avec tout le business, avec tout ce que je sais, en fait, tout le contexte du projet que je connais, je peux prendre la décision directement dans le meeting, dans ces cas-là. Si j'ai déjà ça. Si j'ai pas toutes les informations en tête, je vais dire à la team, OK, ça sert à rien de continuer le brainstorming. On va poser ça, la question ici. Là, on voit bien qu'il y a un problème. Laissez-moi le temps de réfléchir à ça, trouver les informations dont j'ai besoin pour après revenir prendre la décision. Ce qui est vraiment important, c'est qu'une fois que la décision est prise, quel que soit le contexte de la décision, l'information est partagée avec la team et le retour est fait avec la team sur la question du contexte, pourquoi en fait la décision a été prise de cette façon-là. Donc après, tu as plusieurs façons de le faire. Soit tu fais un meeting directement avec ta team, mais le plus important pour moi, c'est la documentation. Donc en fait, ça va être une communication écrite qui va être faite à la team. Donc soit, nous on utilise, bon, ça va être Discord par exemple, si vous utilisez Discord, mais ça peut être Teams, ça peut être ce que vous voulez dans laquelle la décision est écrite noir sur blanc en expliquant le problème, la solution décidée et le contexte pour lequel la décision a été prise.
Donc
Et
tu
vraiment,
redoublonnes à l'écrit,
ouais,
même si ça a
toujours.
été dit à l'oral.
Toujours. Parce que dans ton meeting, tu n'as pas toujours, surtout si j'ai une team de 150 personnes, j'ai pas tout le monde dans le meeting. mais l'intégralité de la team a besoin de cette information-là pour comprendre, parce que peut-être que cette décision va impacter quelqu'un qui n'était pas dans le meeting. Et je vais même tripler cette communication parce que dans mon monthly meeting, qui donc arrive tous les mois, où j'ai l'intégralité de la team, si c'est une décision qui était vraiment très, très, très importante, encore une fois, je vais répéter cette information pour que les gens qui n'étaient potentiellement pas dans le meeting et qui n'ont potentiellement pas lu la communication écrite puissent l'entendre encore une fois. Et là, j'ouvre en plus de ça un Q&A avec la team pour qu'ils puissent poser des questions s'ils n'ont toujours pas compris la raison du pourquoi de la décision. Parce que, comme je disais, votre boulot en tant que leader, c'est l'éducation. Et l'éducation, je suis désolée de le dire, mais c'est de la répétition. C'est toujours répéter, renforcer l'idée. Et bah oui, Thomas, tu dois bien connaître, hein.
Oui, c'est pour ça que je voulais mettre mon micro, effectivement.
Vas-y, vas-y.
Avant d'être dans la pédagogie, j'avais pas compris ça, mais maintenant je comprends. L'art de la répétition, machin, ça, c'est vrai, effectivement. Et j'avais une autre question. Tu as parlé de ton exemple chez Blizzard où tu étais la seule à avoir accès à la team de dev aux US et que tu étais donc le gatekeeper et qu'à un moment tu t'es rendu compte que c'était pas bon. Et peut-être que j'ai mal, enfin j'ai pas écouté, mais je sais pas si tu as dit comment tu t'en es rendu compte ou pourquoi, tu vois, c'était ça ma question. C'est est-ce qu'il y a quelqu'un qui te l'a dit? Est-ce que c'est toi à un moment qui a réalisé que comment t'as réalisé ça?
En fait, je m'en suis rendu compte, oui, en fait, indirectement, les gens m'en parlaient, mais sans pointer du doigt, ils étaient pas, parce que c'était la culture aussi, un Blizzard qui était très, très sécrétive, qui faisait qu'on travaillait comme ça, parce que bah, les teams de développement aux US étaient ouais, très secrètes. Ils parlaient très peu de choses et ils avaient vraiment une poignée de personnes à qui ils parlaient en dehors enfin, dans les régions. Donc, j'entendais ça, des échos de ma team. Et aussi, un jour, en fait, je suis tombée malade, tout simplement. J'étais plus là. J'étais plus là. Et puis, bah, ma team, nez dans l'eau, bec dans l'eau, qu'est-ce qu'on fait? Jan n'est pas là. Et je gérais pas que l'Europe, moi, je gérais aussi l'Amérique latine. Et avec le décalage horaire qu'il y a avec l'Amérique latine aussi, euh, quand j'étais pas là et qu'ils n'avaient pas l'information sur le moment, bah, du coup, ça les bloquait pendant peut-être 1 ou 2 jours. Donc, du coup, ça ralentissait vraiment, vraiment les opérations de leur côté. C'est un ensemble de choses. En fait, tu commences à voir des signaux qui arrivent partout. Et puis, particulièrement quand je suis tombée malade. Et là, pendant 2 semaines, j'étais pas là et c'était compliqué.
J'imagine. Ok, merci. Je crois qu'il y a d'autres questions. Thibaut, Zoé, je vous laisse remonter les questions.
Oui, alors on a plusieurs questions. Vous m'entendez?
Oui.
Ok, très bien. Euh, donc du coup, Thomas a posé ses questions. On avait une question de Noémie qui nous dit How do you decide which information to give to your team and which to withhold to avoid overwhelming them?
Mm. It's a great question. And I think to be fair, it's a case by case basis kind of thing. Everything that is going to really impact the product and the player's experience has to be shared with your team. If this is something that is more about the business and, uh, for example, the business is deciding, hey, we need to reduce the costs on the team and we need to have layoffs. Obviously, this is not something that you're going to share with your team. You don't want to stress them out. You don't want to create chaos in your team. So everything management related, you're going to protect them. Everything that is coming, the chaos coming from leadership, your leadership as a leader, you have also leadership as well, right? You have like your CEO and the C-suite from your company. That is going to put a lot of pressure on your shoulders as a leader. But your role is to be the person that is going to tank this information and is going to protect the rest of the team. This is where I am not sharing those kind of information. I am sharing this information only with the key people on my team that are going to help me make the decision. So I'm going to discuss most likely with my leaders on the team as well. So again, game director, game art director, those kind of things. But whenever the information or is for the product itself, it's going to impact the game, the player's experience, the processes that we're going to work on together to work as one team. This is the information that I'm going to share, even if the information is not going to be super, super nice to hear. For example, we reshaped when I arrived on War of Frontiers. We reshaped entirely the production framework. So we changed the tools that we were using, the processes that we're using, and so on and so forth. And that was not a easy thing to hear from the team, because it was telling them, but basically for years they've been working pretty much like um, not very professionally speaking. And so we had to change a lot of things here. But this information is delivered in a way that feels safe for the team. So you're not pointing the finger, you're not saying it was crap. You were saying this is not working properly. We're going to enhance the team by changing this and this and this. And we're going to take your advice into consideration. So you're not just like doing a top-down kind of management, you're resurfacing the solutions from the team. Again, the solutions are coming from your team most of the time. So you're going to have workshops together, you're going to discuss with them, you're going to hear from them what is not working together, so that we can fix this as leadership team with you. I hope this is answering the question.
Ok, merci beaucoup pour la réponse. Et on en a une autre aussi de Natacha. How do you lead someone who refuses to work with the team? Do you have to adapt to them? What do you do when you have to lead a team with too much conflict or distrust?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, that's a tough one. So somebody who refuses to work with a team is going to be the most difficult thing that you're going to have to manage as a leader. And so in my mind, everybody on the team should be team players. You might be a bit less than others, and that's fine, because you need to respect them as well. So different people will have different communication styles, and you need to adapt to that, right? So for example, it's a stereotype, but I'm just going to use this as a stereotype. Most of the time, programmers are more closed off, and they are not sharing as much as, let's say, an artist. It's a stereotype, but most of the time it is actually true. So you have to understand that a programmer is not going to be as much of a team player, for example, that maybe another person on the team. And that's fine, as long as they are not toxic and they are not breaking the culture of the team. You need to respect that as well. And something that you need to understand as a leader, and this is why you need to adapt to them at some point, is maybe they're not team players because they didn't find the right avenue for them to be a team player. Maybe they don't want to speak up. Maybe that's not their thing. Maybe they prefer to write their feedback. And so you need to understand for those guys, and that's the reason why I repeat the information in different settings. Maybe this is not in a meeting setting that they're going to be good at giving their feedback. Maybe that's going to be a written form. Maybe it's not a written form. Maybe it's going to be, I don't know, during a play test with your team, those kind of things, right? So you need to adapt to them. I think when the person is starting to become toxic, this is when this is becoming a problem for the team. And this is when you need to intervene as well as a leader. And I'm going to say again what I was saying. It's all about honesty and full transparency. So I had a problem on my team with one of our directors, actually. That was the feedback that I was getting from the rest of the team, that was this person was quite toxic with them, with everyone. Anytime there was kind of an interaction, they were aggressive and biting and passive aggressive, and it was difficult to manage for everyone. I decided to sit with him and just to discuss what's up, what is happening. I need to understand. This is not normal for you to behave this way. I need to understand what is happening for you. How can I help? It's another great question as a leader that you should be using. How can I help? I'm responsible for your success. I want you to succeed. I'm seeing that there's something right now that's not working well. I need to understand why, so I can unblock you. I can remove this roadblock from you so that you can perform properly again. What is happening? I'm not here to push you down. I'm here to elevate you, right? That's my role as a leader. And you know what? The answer from this person was that somebody on their family had they tried to commit suicide, and their wife wanted to divorce. Yeah, anybody has a life outside of work, and you need to understand that as well. And obviously, this was impacting him so much that he started to become aggressive at work. And so my question of how can I help, it changed him like entirely. And he started to open up and he started to discuss with me and that we found, okay, this is how we can help you. One, you need to take some time off because you obviously this is you're just too pressured right now. But then when you're coming back to work, this is what we're going to put in place. So we had like an action plan together. So again, I was saying in the masterclass, it's all about listening before making a decision. Listen to your team. If people are behaving a certain way, there's a reason for this. And as a leader, you need to understand this. Now the question is, if somebody on your team is really not willing to change their mindset, what do you do? Well, in that case, you might want to, unfortunately, to part ways. You might need the person to leave the team. And as a leader, this is very important as well, because this type of leadership is a strong style of leadership. You need to protect the team. If one person is creating chaos in your team and after some time trying to fix the situation with them, they're still not changing, they're damaging the team. And as a leader, you need to protect the team. So you need to remove this person from your team. And that might be a decision that you might need to take. It's a harsh decision. You're not going to take this decision first right away, but down the line, if this is something that you might need to do, then you just do it.
Ok, merci. Et effectivement, c'est pas les décisions faciles, quoi.
Non, très très difficile. Et ça
Ouais,
m'est
tu
arrivé
m'étonnes.
de voir, malheureusement, mais malheureusement, voilà. Tu vas toujours essayer de comprendre et au bout d'un moment, tu laisses pas traîner non plus, mais au bout d'un moment, s'il faut prendre la décision, tu prends la décision.
Ouais, bien sûr. Et puis je pense qu'après, il y a des gens qui te remercieront directement ou qui te le diront pas d'ailleurs, mais qui te remercieront silencieusement de l'avoir fait parce qu'effectivement, le
Tout
but,
à
c'est de
fait.
protéger la team, le projet, tout ça.
Tout à fait.
Mais ouais. Euh, je vois pas d'autres questions, donc je pense qu'on va pas tarder à s'arrêter. Euh, Merci en tous les cas, Jennifer. Franchement, c'était hyper intéressant. C'était top. Donc, ouais, merci
Bah, merci de
pour
m'avoir
tout ça.
surtout, ça fait plaisir. Et je vous laisserai, enfin, je te laisserai le lien de la présentation si tu veux le partager.
Ouais, c'est cool. Eh ben, on va la mettre sur le. Mais je crois que tu me l'as envoyé par mail. Sinon, je vais
Ah
la
oui,
mettre
c'est
sur
vrai, oui,
le chat Discord, comme ça les gens ils peuvent regarder aussi et
ça
puis
marche.
poser des questions encore s'ils veulent. Mais voilà. Non, merci. Ouais, c'était vraiment hyper intéressant parce que c'est pas forcément quelque chose qui est très 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 développé en France. On en avait parlé un peu tous les deux à l'avance, mais il y a une
Je
relation qui est très
vais,
verticale
ouais,
et
je vais être honnête
hiérarchique
avec
en
vous.
France. Mhm.
Avec toutes les personnes ici, je ne travaille pas pour des studios français en général parce que le style de management à la française, je le trouve très difficile, qui est encore très patriarcal, très top-down, très, quand je dis patriarcal, c'est pas dans le sens je suis un homme, t'es une femme, non, c'est vraiment dans le sens top-down,
Verticale, quoi.
très vertical, etc. Et c'est quelque chose qui, moi, qui grandis sur management à l'américaine, à Blizzard, Riot Games, etc., etc., en venant en France, j'ai trouvé ça très, très difficile et j'arrive pas, en fait, parce que ça me laisse aucune opportunité de grandir en tant qu'individu, en tant que personne, dans ma team, etc. Alors que on est dans une société, enfin, dans une entreprise tellement créative que ça ne fonctionne pas, en fait, tout simplement. Si on a besoin d'avoir un petit chef, en fait, bah, encore une fois, on n'arrive pas au meilleur produit.
Ouais, ouais, c'est clair. Ouais, bah, c'est pour ça que ta conf était importante. Merci. Comme ça, on va tâcher de changer les choses avec les nouvelles générations qui arrivent.
Yay. En espérant.
Ouais. Bon, merci à toi en tous les cas, Jennifer. Merci pour le temps.
Merci à vous tous. Merci de
Ouais.
m'avoir aujourd'hui. Bon courage pour le reste de la semaine.
Ouais, merci. Salut, bonne journée à toi.
Joyeuses fêtes. Au revoir.